Hello and welcome to RaceMob's Monday Meetup, where we give you the latest in running news, updates from our community, and our weekly workouts and upcoming events. Welcome to the show, Coach B.
Hey, how you doing, KC? Good to see you, my brother.
Oh, always good to see you. Well, maybe a little bit less good to see you, considering that I lost the bet over the weekend. But
what?
So I know, it's so bad. I'm hurting inside, but I'm still here. I'm still willing to do the show with you. So, it's all good. And we'll celebrate again on Wednesday when I pay off that bet. So, awesome. I wanted to start the show off by giving a quick shout out to new members of the RaceMob community. Barbara, who's run so many bucket list races over on the East Coast. I'm jealous of so many of those marathons. Jaime, who's training for an Ironman next year. Jason, who's been doing the California Coast 500, getting into strength training. We've got Christine, Norman, Robert, Christina, Winnie, Ryan, a lot of newer runners, new runners to the sport. Some of them who have been dealing with pain, ankle issues, knee issues, but are looking to get into the sport. So welcome you guys to the community. So excited to have you there. And we've got a couple of birthday shout outs too. Kristen, Grace, their birthdays are this week. Some of my closest friends who I've run races with in the past, including some a Disneyland Neverland 5K with Grace, and traveling down there, running through Disneyland. Such a blast, such a fun experience. And I think you've got some birthday shout outs as well, right, Coach B?
Yes, certainly our friend and race director extraordinaire, JT Service, just recently celebrated his 40th birthday.
Yes.
With JT. Another Too Legit team member, Sarah George, celebrated a birthday yesterday. And my production assistant, when I had a travel correspondent gig in Spokane, Washington, Jasmine Newsom. Yes, that's my niece. Happy 19th birthday.
Wow.
Love you, from Uncle B. So, yeah, man, good stuff.
I mean, and speaking about JT and celebrating his birthday, Silicon Valley Half Marathon kicking off this last weekend. Lots of great photos from you and the Too Legit team. I saw you rocking the RaceMob headband out there from City Hall. Tell us about the event. And that event is going on right now, right? So tell us all about your guys' races.
Third year, started in 2018, and here we are, the virtual version of it in 2020, kicked off on the 18th, this past Friday. And it was great seeing runners throughout the Bay Area get in the virtual race distances, 5K, 10K, and half marathon. Two Legit team members started knocking it out. RaceMob members started knocking it out Saturday and Sunday. I participated in a run yesterday that you mentioned that started at City Hall. Look at that bling right there, huh?
Man, those medals are so they're huge.
Boom, boom, boom. Perfect weather. We had a fantastic planner and race day organizer and Becky Sosa Hernandez, one of our first podcast guests. And we just had fun, man. Perfect weather, great energy, sun beaming on our face, and looking forward to seeing everyone else's photos. So please share within the RaceMob community, post via Facebook, tag RaceMob, Instagram. We want to see you and your fitness vibes and the photos with them as well.
Absolutely. And, I was so thankful to finally have some good weather out here. The air quality has improved tremendously. I finally got out on a long run on Saturday, completing the 11-miler for Big Surreal. And man, I haven't run that long in a while. And
hey, congratulations, man!
Oh, thank you. And I forgot. My body. I'm not sure if other people have the same issue, but around mile 9, around mile 10, especially if I'm not in ketosis, if I'm not following a ketogenic diet and have been using carbs, my glycogen stores kind of tend to be used up and utilized at that point. So mile 9, mile 10 were really difficult. Having that goal for mile 11 was great for me to keep me out there on the course, but I should have thought about, maybe a gel pack, maybe a little bit of something along the way. I had done kind of knowing that 11 miles was the goal. I kind of did this like, I'm going to get a little bit further than from the house and I'm comfortable getting, and like just see if I can force my body to come back. And sometimes those are good races. Those are some good runs. Make sure you have a phone with you. Make sure that you've got a backup plan if you ever do something like that. But had a blast and was happy to complete 11 miles, even though that last mile was walking. So all
teachable moments. And right. Yes, shout out to our
Big Surreal. Big Sur Marathon. Fantastic event. And allows you to say, hey, today I was thinking about doing a 12K, but my body feels pretty good. I'm going to push on and do that 11 miler, knock that one out and then come back. So love the idea behind 5 challenges in one that the Big Surreal put out there. Let's chat about the podcast episode launching this week with Tes Marshall from Atlanta. My gosh.
We're in for it. Everybody, our viewers and listeners, you're in for a real treat. Tes is a wonderful human being who's always a community first minded individual, uniting individuals. And the podcast we have launching this week is profound on many levels, especially in today's political and social climate, talking about community and race and having access, equality, diversity, just deep on many levels. Also incredibly great energy, inspiring. You get so much. So if you haven't already subscribed to our podcast channel, please do so, because you don't want to miss this wonderful hour-long conversation with one of the most dynamic race directors that we've engaged so far. Just very innovative and really has her finger on the pulse on so many areas.
Yeah. And I think, she's the type of person that would have been successful in any industry that you put her in. She grew up hating running, basketball player and whatnot. And, just decided, okay, let me give this running thing a chance. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my 40s. I'm not sure if I'll be running or I'll be playing basketball forever. And just fell in love with the sport, and not only fell in love, but then started growing community around it. Black Girls Runs. She was one of the initial ambassadors in Atlanta, grew that up to like 10,000, 30,000 members, started Running Nerds. That's a name that I love. So Running Nerds, Run Social, and then most recently started The Race, which is an event happening here that you're wearing the hat for. I love it. Happening here in the beginning of October that celebrates Black excellence. Let me give you a quick intro into The Race from Tes.
And just every aspect of the race that we could support Black-owned businesses, neighborhoods, and charities, we did. We run the race through the West Side neighborhoods of Atlanta, which are some of the historically Black neighborhoods. And it's just a beautiful event. And it's of course, welcome and open to anyone and everyone. But when you participate in the race, you are getting an experience in Black excellence. Like, that's the unapologetic approach to the race.
So, I mean, just a fantastic event. And not only is it just the event, it's everything that leads up to the event, which includes a speaker series, which includes panel discussions, which we were invited to this last weekend. A fantastic panel discussion hosted by the Running Duo podcast over in Atlanta. We had podcasts from all over the world, London, Albany, New York. And we were invited to talk about social diversity and diversity in the sport of running. And how apt, because we just had that conversation with our RCA president and executive director last week, George and Jean. And, you know, racial diversity within the sport of running was something that they had brought up and that we had a long conversation with them about. I think something that I took away from the conversation, they had talked about how the sport is 92% Caucasian, 92% Caucasian. Signing up for races. And that is not at all representative of what our country's makeup is. And so they were talking about how can we change the sport to be more inclusive, not only in, racial diversity, but, people are all shapes, all sizes, people are all ethnicities, but also, sexual orientation, everything under the sun. And how can you be more inclusive to everybody? How can you not only be more inclusive and saying like, hey, everybody's open, but how can you reach out and bring others into the sport? And so, yeah, I think great conversation, both with Gene and George, but this last weekend, especially because, you have runners who their experience has been, I show up at a race and I feel like a sore thumb. I don't feel like I'm included, right? We had, I can't remember her name from Albany.
From Albany, New York, yes.
Yeah. And she had just talked about, I show up at a race and it's all white people and I don't feel that welcome and I don't feel that comfortable. And so, it was great to hear other perspectives, hear about others who are bringing more diversity into the sport, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we need.
Well said. I feel at the running community's core, very friendly and open and welcoming. And we just need more people of color to feel that it's something they want to do. So there's been a lot of conversations happening. We've been a part of a lot of conversations, but at some point it should be less about what we're talking about and really what we are doing about the conversation. What are we individually doing? We can point to organizations, RRCA and the like, for their leadership and their broad access. But ultimately, it's the running community themselves where we need to do our part and to share, to include, to inspire, look to our local communities, especially the youth, because, with so many scholastic athletic programs getting sliced with their budgets, there's real ample opportunity for us to get out there and see what we can do from a volunteer perspective. If that's a jogathon, runathon, mentoring youth program where RRCA is actually, they have funding, where schools in underserved communities might have some opportunity to have a running program subsidized by some organizations. So again, we can be a part of the conversation saying, yes, this is not happening or that's not happening. At some point, just put the energy into what can I do? What can we do together to help increase the diversity within the sport, which is a fantastic sport on so many levels. So, yeah.
And I think that there's so many more conversations to be had. There's so much more that we can be doing to both educate ourselves on, what is actually going on behind the scenes in the industry. What can we be doing to help promote diversity, help promote inclusion, help make sure that everybody who doesn't feel welcome for whatever reason, that we can have those conversations and bring them into the fold. And, if one person doesn't feel welcome, that means that there are hundreds, if not thousands of people that have that same feeling. And so how can we, just lower that barrier, allow them to take one step forward.
Your voice matters. Everyone's voice matters. And within our RaceMob community, we welcome everybody's voice, your opinion, your story, your message, your experience all matters. It is all relevant. And just come and share, hang out, spread some positivity, increase awareness, which benefits us all. So.
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject, let's talk a little bit about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a pioneer for social rights, right? And she had worked right alongside the ACLU, especially, I don't know if you've ever watched the movie on the basis of sex, where, it was really her early days, and how she was excluded from so many things on the basis of sex, and how the laws were written so that people could discriminate. It was in our innate ability to discriminate against you on the basis of sex, on the basis of race, on the basis of sexual orientation and other things. And so, what a pioneer. Really, our condolences are out there. It's upon all of us to continue to understand her life, what she believed in, what she fought for, and if those are principles that you also believe in, it's time to vote. And the next generation of laws, or the perception of how those laws should be interpreted, a lot of that comes down to the seats on the Supreme Court and, who's taking those spots. So if you're passionate about who's sitting there on the Supreme Court, make sure that your voices are heard to your senator and your elected officials. Yeah.
I mean, look at just in our parents' lifetime, what they've had to live through in their lifetime.
Exactly.
Our parents.
Yes. Our parents. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And then what we are still dealing with, and RBG, her story, as you articulated quite well, and thank you for that. Strong women, and we've been very fortunate through our podcast series. I mean, Becky, Joyce, Verity, Tess, Jean, just some fantastic, wonderful, smart, intelligent, hardworking, just community contributors on so many levels. And we're so much better off for their vision, their leadership, their presence, their voice. And what a loss, but her spirit will live on. And I trust that's going to, as you said, vote, and, I still feel our better days are ahead of us.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the world of sports and bowing down, my poor Broncos, back, shoulder injury. So I'm paying off the bet. Our bet is case of beer, 100 push-ups. So we'll have some video of that in next week's morning meetup. Monday meetup.
Elaborate on that beer a little bit more. Where's the beer coming from? This is not your everyday.
Microbrew from Colorado. I've got a couple of ideas in mind. A couple of years ago, I went to the Great American Beer Festival over in Colorado, where thousands, I think, of brewmasters come and show you what they're made of. And fantastic event. Couple of local Colorado beers, and I know you are a beer connoisseur, and you've got some stuff in the works here. Is that right?
Oh, check this out. I have some stuff brewing.
Yes. Yes.
And one thing that runners enjoy, it's important to stay hydrated, number one. Okay. And having a cold beer post-run has always been very refreshing in some circles. I'm a fan of doing that. And working with a couple of close friends, looking to provide a runner's spin on enjoying beer drinking and sharing that with our YouTube audience. Kevin, I thank you in advance for your continued support. You are going to be a reoccurring guest. It'll be a party of three, myself, Becky Hernandez, and Nando Gonzalez. That should be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for further announcements.
There you go.
Good
and
stuff.
If you're a brewmaster and you want to get featured, come reach out to Bertrand.
Come on over.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. We'll do some tasting. Yes. We'll do some reviews.
We will.
Looking forward to it. Absolutely looking
forward to having that Colorado brew, Michael Brewery, on there as well from the Steelers beating the Broncos yesterday. So
yeah. It was a bad day for Denver sports. I mean, that last second Lakers field goal was right to the heart. So tough day for Denver sports. Some crazy upsets, some crazy last minute things. That Dallas game and that little watermelon kick. That was a little bit
Oh,
a little
right.
bit crazy.
Yeah.
That happened on.
Yeah. That onside kick was a trip, man. So,
and getting to running.
But I love that about sports.
Yeah, getting to running sports. London Marathon coming up October 4th, right? Right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Big deal. For those of you that may not know, the London Marathon is going to feature the 2 fastest marathoners of all time. Okay, number 1. Number 2, the marathon world record is separated by less than 3 seconds between these 2 individuals from rival countries, Kenya and Ethiopia. And they're going to be running head to head. It is like the Super Bowl of Super Bowls for the marathon distance, which has grown in popularity to the common public because of the pursuit of breaking the sub-2 barrier, where some of the major brands have worked with in some cases, controversial shoes. And this is the shoe, this is the athlete. I always say it is the athlete doing the majority of the work. Maybe it's helping them be a little bit more efficient and resilient, but ultimately it's the athlete and the core training. But a lot of shoe manufacturers are really stepping up their shoe game because of some of the innovations by Nike. But these 2 individuals going head to head, it's going to be something to see. Get your popcorn aside, hit the record button, and you're in for seeing something special on October 4th. I'll be there. Kevin will be there, and we'll share our experience post the race with everybody as well in a future YouTube episode.
Absolutely. And if you don't know too much of the history, I think the running production on YouTube does a good job of breaking down some of the history between these 2 5K athletes for a long time, multiple Olympics where they raced against each other, multiple cross-country events. Bekele, I mean, he was dominant in the sport for the longest time. I don't think Kipchoge even got up on him for quite a while. But more recently, Kipchoge has been taking off in the marathon world. Another great documentary done by, I think, National Geographic, the Under 2 documentary, where they detailed out that first attempt for Under 2 marathon, and really you saw Kipchoge way ahead of Bekele at that point in time in terms of of the marathon distance and being able to complete a marathon distance. And now you get this showdown where last year, I think, was it? Yeah, Berlin Marathon last year, Bekele ran this 2:01, and just after Kipchoge ran that Under 2, they didn't compete against each other at that Berlin Marathon because those events were so close to each other. So the world's been waiting for this for a year, if not more, where both of them are at peak performance for a marathon distance. Can't wait to see if they will be pushing each other all the way to the end, and maybe we're going to see something just incredible. So kudos to London for putting on this marathon, and we can't wait to see it. It's going to be awesome.
Right. Well said.
All right, let's get into this week's track workout broken down by Coach B himself.
So we're talking about the marathon distance, and the mileage that makes up that distance is 26. So 26 reps of, let's see here, starting first with the term progressions, okay? Meaning you're looking at a negative split effort. So you're starting off a little bit slower, and you are progressing through the rep and getting faster. So on the second half, the last 50% of each rep, you are gradually picking up pace and pushing through that virtual rep finish line. Very important, mimicking a negative split. Because ideally in a race, we want to start off a little bit slower, a little bit more conservative, maintaining gas in the tank. And then as we get further along in the race, we want to still feel strong and like we're running downhill and be able to push to the finish. So first series of exercises would be six 200-meter progressive reps. Second set, 10 reps of 100-meter progressions. Third type of exercise, 10 50-meter reps. So 6 plus 10 plus 10, 26 reps total, mimicking the 26 miles in a marathon. Have fun with it. Share your thoughts. Share some pictures. Did this workout last week with a couple of team members, and we had a blast. It's a challenging workout, and the ability to stay focused when you're fatigued and finish out the rep is very important because that translates to when you are having your race day. There are going to be times when you feel fatigued and maybe form may break down. And when the negative thoughts start to get in between the ears, if you just can stay focused on the basics, one foot in front of the other, steady cadence, it will help sustain energy and get you to that finish line, hopefully in your desired time. So negative split focus, progressive reps, and have fun with it. And looking forward to hearing what you think about it.
Awesome. How much time for rest in between? So you do this like 200 meters. Are you resting a minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes?
I think you're very good question, Kevin. Generally, the rest period would vary between 45 seconds to a minute and a half.
Okay.
Yep. And the key thing is, if you need more time, then take more time, because what we don't want to happen is that you're in such a fatigue state, especially on those 200s. The 200s are tough because it's a longer distance. You're running faster for a longer period of time. So if you need to take a little extra time to regather your breath and finish out each rep, again, progressive, starting out a little bit slower, and then maybe looking at the halfway point of that rep and pushing stronger through the finish line, but giving yourself the enough time where you're not overly fatigued, where your form is breaking down, and you've hit the wall. That's not what we're trying to get here. We want quality reps. We want 26 quality reps. So again, if 45 seconds, which is on the short end, a minute and a half on the long end with recovery, if you need more time, then take more time, because it is quality in the reps that is important here, not just, getting them done and, walking in the middle of a 50-meter rep is not what we're looking for here. But if you need to do that, we get that depending on your fitness level.
Yeah.
So
great speed workout can build your anaerobic capacity, can build your muscles. We're going to be talking a little bit about pace and different paces a little bit later this week because it is important to know what pace you should be running. And, I think for a lot of newer runners, they're running too fast and they're hitting aerobic thresholds too quickly. So we'll be talking about the anaerobic, the aerobic, how to calculate your pace, all of that in a later episode this week. So stay tuned for that. And come join us at community.racemob.com. Ask your questions about this workout, and celebrate your wins so that you can get shouted out on the next Monday meetup. And that's all we've got for today. So thank you guys so much for joining us on this beautiful Monday. And we can't wait to meet you guys, see you guys, and celebrate with you guys. So have a good one.
Peace.